Hey everybody, we have made it to Friday on Amedeus, and there were times during this week I wasn't sure that was going to happen, but how about it? We got there. So, you know, this week we talked about a lot of college sports, and the MLS takes center stage. They are going to do uh, something we asked a long time ago, and that's kind of like windows. So you have an early game, a couple early games, mid-afternoon game, and then there's usual night fare. So quite a schedule of MLS games going on tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. They've been taking some of our advice there. You got two
Yeah.
2 o'clock games, one 4:30, and then obviously the rest going at 7:30, and
Hmm.
every hour on the hour from then on. But yeah, I wish we had more than the one game on the Sunday and the
Hmm.
Sunday games at 2 o'clock. So wish we had a little bit more there. But yeah, definitely an improvement for
Hmm.
the MLS schedule so far, very early on in the season, but so far, good signs.
Right. We got Minnesota and Columbus going on, um, and that's going to be one of the 2 o'clock games. Salt Lake and the Salt Lake City uh, LAFC game is a little interesting to me because that game is being played in Salt Lake, so it's noon in Salt Lake. So it's a nooner for the folks in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, definitely an early one for them, but I mean, it's not the
That's
worst
a good
game,
thing,
right?
though. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I like it. I mean, I like that they're playing. So technically, if you're out on the coast, right, you get an early game starting, at noon, and then you play your way all the way through the day.
yeah, definitely. And it also frees up for those fans. It frees up your afternoon for sure because
Hmm.
obviously soccer games they tend to be shorter since the clock
Hmm.
doesn't stop. So yeah, you're done by definitely before 3 o'clock, and then you got your whole Saturday night if you want to watch some more
Right.
games or go party, do whatever. So yeah, definitely a good one for the fans in Salt Lake on the
Yeah.
weekend.
And the good news, like you said, you go down there, it's noon, you watch the game till 3 o'clock, then you stay downtown and maybe go out to dinner or something. You've got some options, as the saying goes. All
Exactly.
right. So of the games, let's start with of the games that we have: Minnesota, Columbus, Salt Lake. We'll take the early games, and then 4:30 is Miami and Orlando. Of those three games, what ones do you think will be the most competitive?
I think Inter Miami and Orlando is going to be a pretty competitive game,
Hmm.
obviously, because we've talked a lot about Miami being the best team in the Eastern Conference this year, maybe even the entire MLS. But Orlando was a very good team last season, and they had the
Hmm.
best away record in the MLS, or one of the
Hmm.
best away records at least. And even though this isn't much of an away match, not much of a travel. It still
Right.
is an away match for them, and obviously you got the Florida rivalry there, the Florida Derby, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, and yeah, so that should definitely, I think, from an excitement standpoint, that'll be the best one, just because obviously the two Florida teams and the the quality of the talent on both sides. I think all the games are going to be interesting though, just
Hmm.
because Minnesota was a pretty good team last year, and if anything, I think they've improved. They've brought
Hmm.
in a lot of players from Europe that are older but still very good. Like
Sure.
they brought in a striker last year, Timu Pukki. He's Finland's guy when it comes to striking. So
Hmm.
definitely that's a national team player starter right there. So I see improvement from Minnesota. They're going to be at home against the defending champions,
Hmm.
Columbus. So you're going to get a good match in that one. A
Right.
really good team at home versus the defending champions should definitely be exciting. And I'm very interested in the Salt Lake LAFC just because obviously Salt Lake has played two matches already,
Hmm.
like Miami, because they had that
Yeah.
early
The
Wednesday
midweek
one.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they played again on the weekend. So
Hmm.
they're they got one draw, one loss. They're already 2 games in the season, looking for their first win.
Right.
Now, I think this is. I'm not sure if that the one on the weekend was at home, but now they're going to be at home. And this LAFC team, I know they beat Seattle in their season opener, but I'm still not convinced with them. That game
Yeah.
was home, so it was easier for them to win. I think this is going to be an interesting one in the
Mhm.
altitude of Salt Lake for them. So I'm very curious just to see what LAFC shows up. Maybe they go on a run to start the season, pick up an easy win here, or maybe Salt Lake has something to say about that.
Well, and we were talking about the earliness of the game. Um, it's noon for Salt Lake. It's actually 11 o'clock in the morning body time for LAFC. So very interesting in that one. They may wake up in the second half. The Miami Orlando one. The what's kind of fun about this is Orlando, has had the established franchise, and then suddenly Miami shows up, and then suddenly Messi shows up, and the Orlando fans are not happy. Okay, they do not like playing second fiddle to their baby brothers in Miami, and so the fun thing about it is starting last season with the Messi game. Orlando got to the point where the Orlando fans and the team are like, they embrace this thing. I don't know if it's a rivalry to Miami at all. Okay. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I can tell you without fear or hesitation, Orlando circles any game they play against Miami. And, they're going to give everything they got to beat Miami and would love to beat Miami in Miami because if you recall last year, they lost at home in Orlando against Miami.
Yeah, and that's another factor that I think will make this very exciting.
Mhm.
As you said, they're going to get up for the game. It's one that they have circled on their schedule, and I've already talked about how they're such a great away team. So it's not much of a travel for them,
Right.
and they definitely have no problem playing in hostile environments. So yeah, this is definitely you got to remember Orlando's been in the MLS a lot longer than Miami. Miami
Hmm.
was a much later expansion team than
Right.
Orlando was, and yeah, this is really it is Orlando's it is Orlando State in the MLS. So
Mm.
absolutely, they were there first. They've been the better team for longer
Hmm.
because Miami really hasn't been that good. They had a
Well, they
little
were
bit
the
of
better team
success.
last year.
Yeah, definitely. That's right. Even
Yeah.
with the Messi coming,
Right.
obviously, they didn't get a full season with him.
Right.
Orlando was one of the best teams in the MLS, so
Hmm.
you definitely have to give them that. And as far as rivalry concerns, maybe Miami doesn't look at it as a rivalry just because
Hmm.
they don't look at the MLS like there's another team that can rival them, but
Right.
at the same time, I mean, it is the closest geographically, so
Right.
I don't see why they wouldn't look at it like a rivalry game. So definitely should be an exciting one.
Well, there'll be busloads of fans from Orlando who will take the trip to Fort Lauderdale because it's only about a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, they will definitely make that trip. So it'll be fun. It's on Apple TV, obviously, for those of you who subscribe. If you don't subscribe, it is free on Fox, on your local Fox affiliate. So there you go. All right, Vancouver, the early night games. We'll call them that because we won't go to the 10 o'clock games. But Vancouver, Charlotte, Cincinnati, and Chicago, Dallas, and Montreal. That's an 8:30 game that's going to be free on Apple TV. The Vancouver Charlotte game is also free if you subscribe to Apple TV. So Houston and New York, Red Bull, and Kansas City and Philly, and St. Louis and New York City FC. So there's a whole bunch of games there of teams that are trying to find themselves. This is only the third game for some, and as you say, some it's only the second game of the season, and it's really one of those situations where you're just trying to feel out and find out really what kind of team you really have.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the teams are doing that, and that's why it's probably best not to go too heavy on these first
Sure.
three cards. I only had the two plays last weekend personally, and yeah, it's one of those things where we still got to see what these teams are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they made some changes. Now, some at the top, they've stayed the same, but LAFC, that's one where I've talked about could be a completely different team.
Sure.
Only time will tell. That Vancouver match is going to be interesting just because that's a 4:30 start time locally, so that's
Mm-hmm.
another afternoon, another West Coast team there
Mm-hmm.
playing in the afternoon. So definitely good to see that. But yeah, Vancouver was a very strong team at home last year. I'm sure that'll be
Mm-hmm.
a great game to watch. Chicago and Cincinnati is interesting because Chicago was picking up some steam near the end of the season, where Cincinnati was, the best team in the MLS
Mm-hmm.
last year, regular season wise. They did win the Supporter Shield, so it's going to be interesting to see if Cincinnati can replicate what they did last year, especially when they've been really at the foot of the MLS table for so many years, and now
Mm-hmm.
they've really finally come into their own. So hopefully they can continue that. Dallas and Montreal, another nationally televised one. That's going to
Mm-hmm.
be that'll be interesting just to see what Montreal is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are two teams where really don't quite know exactly what they are. Dallas is another team that was a lot better at home last year than they were on the road. Houston, this Houston Red Bulls game, Houston's supposed to be, according to the odds makers, Houston's supposed to be a team that's going to compete for the number one in the West this year.
Hmm.
I don't know about that, just because last year they were a very good home team, but they were one of the worst away teams in the
Right.
entire MLS. There was a drastic difference between them playing at home and on the road. Now they'll be at home for this game against the Red Bulls, but like I said, we'll see. Houston really has to improve their away form this year if they want to be a threat.
Well, Red Bull kind of fell off the map, um, in large part when the New York City team showed up. So, I don't know what to think of Red Bull. I mean, I haven't. Last year they kind of were schizophrenic, and they didn't really, make any major additions to the team this time around. So I don't know. It's way too early for me to have an opinion. But Houston, I watched Houston's game last week. They played pretty well in the in the game down there. How about Philly? What's up with the Union? They're playing in
Yeah,
Kansas City.
yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Kansas City was another team that they were starting to play very well toward the end of the season last year,
Mhm.
so well that they actually slipped themselves into a low playoff spot and kicked out the number one seed St. Louis in the first round. So there you go. Welcome to the MLS St. Louis. They came out in their inaugural season, had the number one seed in the Western Conference, and then they got kicked out in the first round of the playoffs because that's just how it goes
What
sometimes.
happens? Yeah.
Welcome to the league. But yeah, Kansas City is going to be an interesting team because again, they're one like Chicago sort of. If they can maintain that form that they finished the season with
Mm-hmm.
to start with this year, then that'll be a big help. Philadelphia, I still think is going to be a strong force in the East,
Mm-hmm.
though. They really haven't changed much of their
Right.
team, and this is the same team that went to the MLS Finals really two
Mm-hmm.
years ago. They haven't changed too much on that end, so I expect Philadelphia to be a very good team. Again, they're one that's much better at home than they are on the road, but they can
Mm-hmm.
definitely pick up points away from home.
I'll tell you what, and Sean will, I think, back me up on this one. Philadelphia built a stadium, and Philadelphia has, really good facilities for pro sports, and they're all basically within walking distance of each other, except for the Philadelphia Union's stadium, which happens to be in a part of the Philadelphia area that nobody goes to, and it's hard to get to. And man, you got to be a soccer fan to come to a Philadelphia Union game.
And wow, well, I mean, they definitely don't have trouble
Oh no, they're
selling
fine.
the seats.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
That
they
shows
they
you the
have a
fan. That shows you the
say
fan engagement. Yeah.
dedicated fan base right there. Because I know, I know Rye Cape. He's not a huge soccer guy. He's been
You're
starting
right.
to get more into soccer now, but he's a big Union guy, right? So
There you go.
that's the thing with these with these Philly fans is
Right.
they get behind their team no matter what it is. Hell,
100%. Yeah.
you can give them a pickleball team or a football
Right.
on ice team, and they'll sell out that
They'll
stadium.
they'll still get there. Yeah, they'll find a way. St. Louis and New York City FC. They're gonna play that game in St. Louis. St. Louis for many years, was a hotbed of soccer in the United States, and I couldn't for the life of me understand how the MLS could have gone as long as they did without putting a team in St. Louis, and finally they got them, and they, they're representing from a standpoint of the fans, out there sell out the park every time they go and play, and they're playing New York City. 8:30 start on Apple TV this Saturday night, but that's a wonderful soccer town is St. Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis is sort of like a Philadelphia in the sense where they
Mhm,
really support their teams. Hell, when
mhm,
St. Louis had the UFL team, the what was it,
mhm.
the Battle Hawks, they were
Right,
selling those games out.
right,
The only team to even sell tickets at all when they were
right.
selling it out. So that just shows you, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe it's like Milwaukee where there's not much to do in St. Louis. I don't know. I've never been there myself, but definitely it seems like a great sports town. They really get
Yeah,
behind their teams, and that helps the St. Louis team. They're in their second season.
right,
They're going to have that strong home advantage behind them. Even I believe they were one of the few teams last year that outshone the Messi crowd when Miami
right,
showed up. So definitely great fan base there, but they're going to have a very difficult season just because they set the bar so high last year
right.
in their inaugural season. You have to come first in the West again
Mhm.
just to match what you did last season, which is going to be very tough. I don't see it personally, but I think the big thing for them that they should be focused on, because obviously they finished first last season, been
Right.
there, done that. I don't think it's as important. I think they need to focus on, you don't need to win the league, just get in a playoff
Mhm.
spot and focus on not getting kicked out in the first round this year.
But that's always a good idea. Um, they kind of pulled a Golden Knights situation there in their first season in the league. So
Yeah.
Colorado, Nashville, Dick Stadium in Denver. Lord knows what the weather's going to be like. You can go in Denver from 57 degrees to 20 inches of snow overnight. So it's a very interesting thing. Nashville, love the Nashville people love their soccer team too. So again, we got two good soccer cities in a game that should be entertaining. DC is on the road. They are in Portland for a game against the Timbers. That game's going to be at Providence Park. Los Angeles, the other LA team, is in San Jose, so they get a chance to just kind of, bump up the 5 freeway to San Jose. And then the last game of the evening, Seattle hosts Austin. So again, it's a pretty good mashup of teams. And again, some teams playing their second game, some teams playing their third game. It's early to say, but there's going to be some very entertaining stuff in that window from 9:30 on.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of those Western teams. Now, obviously, you got Seattle's a huge favorite over Austin at home, but San
Mm-hmm.
Jose and the Galaxy, I think, will be an interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
San Jose loves to score goals. God knows they can't defend the net. So that, and
This isn't
LA,
over. This isn't
and
over for you.
it's yeah, and San Jose is always an over, but the Galaxy is an interesting one just because the odds makers had them as something like the fourth or fifth
Hmm.
team to win the West, and they were one of the worst in the MLS last year. And
Mm-hmm.
just looking at their transfer activity in the winter,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't do much to improve the team. So I don't
Right.
know why we're expecting such a 180. Maybe it's one of those where they can't possibly be as bad as they were last year. But I don't know. There's some good teams in the league, so it's going to be interesting. Then again, San Jose is one of the worst, so that's more of obviously we don't have it in the MLS, but that's what we in the soccer business would call a relegation scrap. If it did exist in the MLS,
I wish
San
it did,
Jose and the
actually.
Galaxy. Yeah, no, it would be great. It would be a great way to utilize the USL. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's one of those things where this is your classic relegation scrap. And hey, sometimes relegation scraps are exciting because you
Yeah.
have two desperate teams fighting for their lives. And even though it's the second game of the season, you definitely don't want to get out to like a bad start and all of a sudden you're 10 points behind the team ahead of you. It can get out of hand quickly for these teams at the bottom of the table.
All right. Well, Sunday is New England hosting Toronto at 2:00. That game's going to be played in Foxborough, so should be interesting from that standpoint. New England's been around for a while. Toronto's been around for a while. What's the buzz in Toronto about the MLS team, or is there a buzz?
They're supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league again this year. I don't know. They brought in Lorenzo Insigne, hasn't fixed the team. The team's problem is defense. Bringing in an attacker wasn't really going to do much. I don't know. I did see that they brought in one of Foxy's favorite players from
Oh
from
God,
from the good old Newcastle days. I say that with a lot of sarcasm. They brought in Matty Longstaff, so that'll be interesting to see how he does for Toronto. I'm not expecting good things from this team this year. I'm not expecting anything really from them. So it'll be interesting. They'll be a team to watch. They might be Toronto's another one that might be a little bit of an overtrend this year, just because they have the talent to score, but they definitely don't defend.
well there you go. I was kind of just looking to see what was going on with we talked about the USL, and I was getting the USL standings up here. Um, the yeah, they they obviously have they got Birmingham is one of their cities. Detroit. I was trying to look at some of the bigger cities um, in in the league, and Detroit, Pittsburgh, Tampa. That's pretty much your eastern cities. I guess Louisville, I suppose. Um,
They're
Out
having games in
west,
Detroit. Maybe I'll have to
yeah,
go.
Lenny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go get some tickets for $2 a piece and check it out.
yeah. If you may get free ones, it depends on how
Yeah, I was
what
gonna
the
say
situation
I
is.
can't imagine that the tickets are gonna be gouging me.
You got Vegas, Memphis, Monterey Bay. Now that would be a trip. I'll take that one. I'll take that road trip. New Mexico. All right. Oakland. They'll probably move to Vegas. Well, Vegas has a team, so they can't move to Vegas. Uh,
Move to Vegas, move them to Salt Lake. There we
right
go.
there you go. That'll do it. They got a team in Orange County. Phoenix. I love the name of the Phoenix. Phoenix Rising. Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Sacramento and San Antonio. So yeah, there's some. By the way, they haven't played a game yet. None of any of those teams. So I don't. Their season's supposed to start soon, but anyway, I just
Yeah,
thought it would
when
be kind of
when
fun
when
to.
does that start? Because I know, yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, it's there's no what is it? There's no USFL or XFL this year. They merged the two leagues, and now it's what the UFL. It's just called the
Oh,
UFL
you.
now.
Oh, okay. I thought you. This is the soccer. This was the soccer.
Oh, you were
Uh,
talking the soccer. Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
remember you mentioned about the relegation. So I thought, well, okay, let me see what cities might pop up there, and they haven't started. So you're talking about the spring football league.
Yeah, I was talking about the spring football. I thought you were talking about games in Detroit and Birmingham. So I thought that would have been nice, but
That would have been interesting, but no, it's not.
yeah, well, then
They
that's
hang
disappointing.
on a second. Let me. Let me see if I'm sure I can pull it up here.
Yeah, I can say there are no odds on the UFL right now. I do not see any at my sports book.
No, there's no preseason guessing on who's going to be good and who's not.
Yeah, so I assume we're probably still a bit away. It might be like an April, May type league.
I'm looking real quick here. Okay, here's the yeah, no, they will kick off in early April. So
Okay,
the
that's
UFL
still a month, still more than a month away.
Yeah, they've got here's some of their quarterbacks. They're talking about the quarterbacks. AJ McCarron, remember him?
Oh yeah, the best Bengal backup ever.
There you go. AJ is going to be the quarterback of St. Louis. Matt Corral, there's another name out of
Oh wow.
the past at Birmingham. Danny Etling at Michigan. Chase Crookus at Memphis. I couldn't pick him out of lineup with the Pips. I have no idea who that guy is. Tom Flacco, the brother of Joe Flacco,
I'm
in
sorry,
San
Tom Flacco.
Antonio.
How old is
Yeah.
Tom Flacco?
Oh, he's the young brother of Joe Flacco.
Okay, so he's a young brother. He's not
Uh-huh.
it's not someone that's
No,
flown
God,
under the
he's not the older brother.
radar
No,
for all these
no,
years.
no,
All right,
no.
all right. We'll give him a chance. We'll give Joe had a good year. Maybe Tom will have a good year.
You never know. Then you've got Luis Perez for Arlington and Jordan DeTom, who was going to be quarterbacking for your DC. I have no idea what they call the team.
Feels like Matt Corral was like in college 2-3 years ago, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, how long? I mean, AJ McCarron hadn't been out of college that long.
I see. I remember McCarron being a backup for the Bengals for
for a while.
Yeah, for a bit, but I feel like Matt Corral's
Yeah.
a young guy. I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure most of these guys are young guys who didn't make it in the NFL, and now they've got.
I feel like Matt Corral was on the for some reason. I feel like he was on the Patriots roster at the beginning of last season.
He really okay. He might have been. He might. I'm looking him up.
Yeah,
for
call
you
me crazy, but I remember the Patriots had like 4 young quarterbacks. They had they had Malik Cunningham. They had obviously Zappy and Mac Jones. I think Corral was one of them too. They had like
No,
4.
you're absolutely right.
Okay.
He was born on January 31st, 1999, which makes him 25 years of age.
He's younger than I am.
He's Ventura, California, 6'2", 205 pounds. Okay, there's a reason why he's not playing in the NFL. Right there. Height's okay, but man, 205. That's a couple linemen take you out in a heartbeat there. He was a quarterback at a lot of people thought he was one of the best quarterbacks when he was at Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's why I'm shocked because I swear he was drafted and on a roster last NFL season, and now here he is trying to get a shot to play. I guess
he was he graduated in he was a draft choice in 2021. Okay, so it's only 2024. He played briefly for the Carolina Panthers, who drafted him in the 3rd round in 2022. Then he basically languished about until he got his shot at. Man, I don't know how this is. He's from Ventura, California, and he attended Oaks Christian School in Westlake Village, California. He transferred to Long Beach Polytech High School and threw for over 11,000 yards and 123 touchdowns in his high school career. And then when he got to the SEC, he had a good series of years there. with a bad Ole Miss team. So in the NFL, he played for a year with Carolina, and he played for a year with, and I say played, meaning he was on the roster, Carolina, and then who drafted him, and then New England, and now he's in Birmingham.
All
So we
right, so
wish
there you
him
go.
well.
3 years of sitting on the bench. Now he wants to show he's got something to prove. So
Well, I
let's
mean,
see it.
I know, we can go way back, and Kurt Warner was a quarterback in the Arena League. So
Yeah,
you
bagging
know,
groceries. Who
bagging
who
groceries.
does who doesn't know?
Now, who knows? Is he going to be one of those guys who bounces out? I think that's what the league is for, and
Yeah.
I think that's second chances. We'll see, and I'm glad that they've got some financial backing and the right people doing it this time around instead of what they had before. So there you
Yeah, well, the
go.
merger was, I think, definitely smart, right? It
Sure.
was nice having two leagues. They didn't really interfere with each other. Obviously, you
Right.
had the one ran for like 1 month, and then the other one started right after. But
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's such a dilution in the NFL to begin with.
yeah,
And now, to have two minor leagues, if you will, in football, it's just you're asking for it. And plus, those guys aren't making that much money to begin with. So it's really, really a better idea not uh, to sprinkle too much cash around and trying to get people play football when, in fact, you know, those guys who can make it, great. Those who don't, well, that's the way it is, unfortunately.
just
So,
wait till arena ice football starts gaining some
yeah, I know
traction
you
over
really got
here.
that. You really got that going.
Yeah, I'm really pushing the ice
We should
football.
get should get a franchise in Hamilton.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. We'll invest. We'll
Do you
put.
think people would come?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. If they played it where in the arena where the Hamilton Bulldogs play,
Hmm.
absolutely, they could sell that thing out every single night.
Was
Hamilton's just
that like
that
a
kind.
10,000 seat arena or
Uh,
15,000?
I can look up the capacity.
I'm
I'm
just
not.
curious. I mean,
Yeah,
because
okay,
they have to play
definitely.
inside, right?
Yeah, they used to call it Cox Coliseum, but now it's First Ontario Center.
Ah, okay.
And let's see, the capacity is
Mhm.
just taking a look,
Dun, dun, dun,
showing
dun, dun,
yeah,
dun, dun.
showing me everything, showing me the materials that it's made out of, but
Right.
not the
Anything but what you
capacity.
want, right? Yeah.
17,383.
Whoa, okay.
So
There
yeah,
you
you
go.
definitely 100%. Hamilton's that kind of city where
Okay.
they'll
They'll
get
rock
behind
it.
the team
Yeah.
absolutely, and especially for something new like arena ice football, it's enough to intrigue some people. Just be like, what the hell is
Right.
this? Have a nice, exciting because that's the thing, right? It's like a hockey game, but it's like a football game
Like
on
tackle hockey.
ice. Yeah, it's like a mix of both almost, right? They're wearing
Yeah.
hockey equipment without the skates, but it's
Mhm.
football rules. And they even have to kick too. Like I watched the guy kick the extra point and fall on his ass as he kicked the extra point through the uprights on the ice.
Are
So
those like 3 yards wide uprights like they had in arena football?
I don't know. It
Or
looked
5 yards. It was 5 yards
yeah.
across in the.
Yeah, it looked like obviously a smaller version, but they also
Right.
put him very close. He was much closer. Like I would say
Well, I mean, even if you kick from one side to the other,
yeah,
how
and
far would
you
that
use a
be?
tee. They let you use a
Oh,
tee for
okay.
the extra point because obviously
Yeah,
you're not
I
gonna
was not
run
gonna
up.
say.
Like I said, the guy I watched stood in place and kicked it and fell backwards onto his butt on the
Well, you'd
ice.
have to. I mean,
But he got the point, right? That's
he's using all of his his leg power to kick it, and then balance becomes a problem when you can't walk up and kick it.
yeah. I'll have to look
So
into it more because this has
yeah, I mean,
apparently been going on for over a year in Germany. This league.
well, we don't want to get left out here. This is our opportunity to own a franchise.
Well, basically, the Germans, it's literally called American ice football because the Germans took an American sport and were like, let's put our own funky spin
Spin
on it.
on it. Yeah. Hey, who cares? That's a good idea.
Oh yeah, I know it's right. That's what you got to do. You tweak it a bit. You take something that's popular. What can I say? The NFL's plan worked, right? That's all that says to me is
Right.
you have your first game ever in Germany, and then all of a sudden 2 years later we have arena ice football coming out of there. So it definitely left an impression on the Germans.
No question about it. So, not necessarily the right impression, but an impression nonetheless. But the ice ice football, it's just crazy. I mean, that's
It
just so
is. It
funny.
is.
So,
You thought
but
pickleball was wild. Arena ice football.
I actually saw a commercial which I thought was a spoof this morning. I was, you turn it on TV and you're like, you've got in the middle of a commercial and you're like, is this a joke or is this? And it was talking about people who had tennis elbow or pickleball elbow. If you have tennis elbow or pickleball elbow, because of, and they named the racket. I'm not going to name it to get us in trouble, but they said they must have a class action suit against these people for the way they made their rackets or their pickleball, paddles. I guess is what they call them in pickleball. My apologies. I'm sure everybody will let me know whether I'm right or wrong on the pickleball paddle, but I don't know. It's pretty wild. So, got a big weekend coming up. Anything before we get there? Just one last thing. Any big soccer this weekend, other than the MLS, which we already went through?
Yeah. So we gave a good rundown of the MLS schedule. Let
Mm-hmm.
me just pop over to the Premier League here. If I can find the Premier League, maybe there's no Premier League this weekend. I'll just have to.
They're hiding.
Yeah, no, it's not under the popular
Usual places.
Yeah, so usually they have it under the popular. Hmm. My sportsbook recently did an update, so everything looks different to me now, and I can't tell. All right, here we go. Finally found it. I had to do a bit of scrolling, but yeah, we start off with a pretty nice match in the 10 a.m. slot tomorrow. We got Brentford and Chelsea. Brentford has not been playing well lately, but to be fair to them, they've had a pretty tough schedule. They've seen Manchester City twice, Tottenham, and Liverpool all in their last 6 matches. So they've actually, despite losing a majority of those matches, they've actually been scoring and they've been playing much better since Ivan Toney returned from his gambling suspension. So that's going to be interesting because Chelsea has also been gaining some traction as well. So I think that has the potential to be an exciting match. Everton and West Ham's going not too great there. Both teams haven't been in great form, but Everton could have some confidence just because they recently got their points deduction. They got some points deducted from their points deduction. It was 10 points. Now it's only a 6-point deduction. So they added 4 points back to Everton, which boosted them up in the table right now. Everton, if you look at the record they have, the points they have accrued from their record would put them in the top half of the table, but because of the 10-point deduction, they were hovering right above the relegation zone. But now adding those 4 points back puts them more in the middle of the table. So with that safety net between them and the relegation zone, they might have a little more jump in their step for this one. Newcastle and the Wolves could be an interesting match just because the Wolves have had a very impressive season considering where they started, and they've been playing a lot better in recent weeks, where Newcastle has really gone downhill lately. They are not playing well, so that's going to be an interesting one. And that's pretty much it. The 12:30 game, the afternoon one, has the potential. It's Luton Town versus Aston Villa. But even Luton Town, they hit a run of good form through the winter, but now they've kind of fallen a bit out of form. So Aston Villa is a much better team. That could end up being a slaughter. That could be one where we see Luton Town put up a pretty good fight, though, because they are at home. So that'll be interesting. And then really the best game on the board is on Sunday at 10. That would be the Manchester Derby.
Sean will be watching that one, I'm sure.
Oh, he'll be watching that. That one's at the Etihad, though, so he's gonna be shaking in his boots for that one.
Oh boy, I mean, you have to. City's got to be a favorite, right?
Oh yeah, City's a -400 favorite. But to be fair to Sean's United, they've
Yeah.
actually been better on the road lately than they have been at Old Trafford. So maybe that helps them in this
Eh,
situation. But it's always
good.
an exciting match when these two plays. There's always goal. There's usually goals. Very rare do we end up with like a 1-0 or like a 0-0 draw in
So
recent times.
normally there's something there. So
Yeah.
okay. All right. So now to the important part. Let's talk about what you got going on this weekend.
Yeah, so make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and the insidersroom.com. All the links are in the description below. I had a winning day on the pitch yesterday. I cashed my play in the Copa del Rey in Spain, and I have two soccer plays that you can grab today with back to Spain. I got a La Liga play and hitting up the old Argentina. The
Ah,
the Copa de la Liga Profesional has restarted for the year. It's about 6 matches into this campaign, but I have a play up in Argentina that you can grab for your action on the pitch. And then for basketball, I did lose my NBA play last night with the Heat. Lost it by 1 point. Had them +5. They lost by 6, so a little disappointing there. But we look to bounce back today. I got 3 NBA plays as well as 4 college basketball plays that you can go get. It's been a little rough week for me in college basketball, but I took a break yesterday and we're ready to bounce back today.
outstanding. One other quick thing for those of you who follow our team, the University of South Florida Bulls. They play tomorrow at 4:00 against Charlotte in a game that can help them clinch the AAC regular season tournament.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sorry, championship.
once again, no respect for South Florida. A lot of people expecting them to lose this game. I mean, I know I said it a few weeks ago that this was the game that worried
Mhm.
me, but man, the way Charlotte's been playing, South Florida with the week off, don't come out lethargic. This is a game you can win. Some people are even saying that, like, oh, they can afford to lose this game. They can't afford to lose anything. They
No,
lose a game, that's the perfect excuse to just keep them out of the tournament. All
yeah,
right, let's
I
just keep the
yeah,
train rolling.
keep the train rolling. And you know that I've always said if they're going to lose, it's going to be to Tulsa. And Tulsa, by the way, beat Charlotte last week. So um, Tulsa Tulsa is one of those teams that just drives you nuts. They have been in a lot of close games and they've found a way to lose them. They didn't find a way to lose the game against Charlotte, thank goodness, and we'll see. But no, it's gonna be fun. It'll be a good game, and we'll see. The old joke about win, lose, or win. There's no low draw here, so we'll see. It'll be an interesting game. All right, my friend. Have a great weekend. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we shall be back on Monday. And at that point in time, we'll be getting closer and closer to tournament time in the NBA, and we'll also have a better feel for what has gone on. Um, in the wacky world of the National Football League's, um, when they're out there in Indianapolis at the combine, there's some guys who've lost their step. I guess Caleb is gonna he's going to do he's gonna go to the combine, but there's like only one or two things he's gonna do, and he's not taking a physical.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Maybe Chicago told them because now the books have the Atlanta Falcons as the favorite to land Justin Fields. So, maybe we're wrong and Chicago's going to do the worst thing possible this year and draft a quarterback. But, that's okay. They can screw their organization up for years to come. You did spark my memory, though. Shout out to Tom Brady, who went to the
That's
combine,
right. Yeah.
ran a 40-yard dash, and beat his time at 46 years old. He beat the time he ran coming out of college at the age of 22. So
And
there you
Patrick
go.
Mahomes begged them not to put his up. Uh, and I, you know, it's not. It's. I'm not surprised that Brady does anything. Okay, if he lifted a bus off of somebody, it wouldn't surprise me. But I get Mahomes, right? I mean, what do you really have to show that you can run 40-yard dash when you can run 30 yards with a bunch of people chasing you and still be okay. I mean, I don't think Patrick Mahomes has a lot to prove.
Yeah, definitely not. But yeah, for all of
But
you,
that's a true shout out for Brady.
yeah, for all of you who were always saying, man, what the hell is it with this guy? It's like he's getting better as he gets older. Well, there you go. The facts don't lie. He got faster 30 years later, 20 years later, almost 30 years later.
A friend of mine, Jack Corrigan, was in the draft. He was went to Columbia and or Cornell. I'm sorry, went to Cornell and was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys as a wide receiver. And I said, "When did you know your career was over?" He says, "Pretty much whenever Drew Pearson was putting his sweats on, and I had raced him in the 40-yard dash." So Drew, I guess, had gotten finished so fast in against Jack that he was putting his sweats on by the time Jack got to the end. So it's sometimes you don't. Sometimes some of these guys don't show up when they're in these singular competitions. It takes it takes the competition that they're up against to prove that they're good at what they do. So we'll see, but I don't know. I would never count. I mean, I agree with you on Brady. Give him his just due. At 46 years old, there's probably nothing he can't do. He's probably gonna make $400 million on the Live Tour or something. It's he's gonna make $300 million working for Fox. So that's not a bad thing either. So he gets paid to watch football games and comment. So we'll see how it works out. All right. So that's it. And any other shout outs before we get out of town here?
No, just as the great Rye Cape would say, let's cash some tickets.
There you go. And also giving Rye Cape a little love here today. NASCAR is in Vegas this week, and if you want anything you need to know about NASCAR, go see Rye Cape. He's in the same group of people that Amadeus is. So by all means, check it out.
The Insiders Room Discord. So free
There
to join.
Go.
We're all found in there. Just ask
free.
Away.
You can't beat free. It's the old saying: if it's free, it's for me. So there you go. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Take care.